Chapter 558. She was eaten by a shark. There were many sharks in the sea. Other than sharks that ate people, there were also many sea animals that attacked people. Magoo looked at Gu Yenhao in disappointment. So this is your love for her. After a pause, Magoo continued, if you don't look for her, I'll continue. With that, Magoo turned around and strode away. Brother. He bumped into Mushin at the door. Magoo looked at her deeply and said, take good care of Jianing. The moment Ban Jianing found out that Song Wuyo had gone missing, he suddenly screamed and fell unconscious. He hadn't woken up until now. The doctor came over to check on him and said that he had fainted because he couldn't take the blow. After instructing Mushin to take good care of Ban Jianing, Magoo strode away. Mushin caught up with him and looked at his back in grief. She called out to him, brother, you also like Wuyo, right? Magoo suddenly stopped in his tracks. Mushin stepped forward and walked in front of Magoo. Her eyes were red as she asked, you also like Worryless, don't you? Magoo looked serious. Mushin, this is not the time to talk about this. Mushin choked with sobs. If you really like Sister Wuyo, please find her and bring her back safely. Magoo's heart ached and blood vessels appeared in his eyes. He looked at Mushin. I will. Even if I have to turn the world upside down, I will find her. With that, Magoo strode away from Mushin. Mu Axian turned around and looked at his figure that was gradually disappearing into the distance. Suddenly, she felt that he was very pitiful. It turned out that he had always liked Sister Wuyo, but he didn't dare to express it. These few days, he had been looking for Song Wuyo like crazy. Mushin could tell that he was interested in Song Wuyo. She just didn't expect it to be so deep. Just as Qing Junhua had said, Song Wuyo's death would cause a sensation in K country. Just the explosion of the yacht and the disappearance of Song Wuyo had caused an uproar in M City. Some daring netizens said that this matter had something to do with Qing Jianxin. The reason was that Song Wuyo had directly challenged him when the people caused a commotion in the Dragon Palace. However, some netizens said that it would be easy for the president to kill one of them. Why didn't he just give the order to kill them directly? Why did he have to create so many incidents and drag Madame G into this mess? Anyway, Song Wuyo's disappearance caused a sensation in M City. Many people were worried for Song Wuyo and prayed that she could come back safely. The employees of the Song firm were all sad. However, this did not affect their work. They wanted to do well and wait for Song Wuyo to praise them. The Qing family held a grand funeral for Madame G. President Qing Jianxin's family also attended. The funeral was very grand, and the media followed and photographed it. Madame G.'s husband, Qing Jianping, and her two sons were extremely sad. Her eldest son, Qing Junhua, who was not her biological son, also had a heavy expression. Everyone in the Qing family was sorrowful because of Madame G.'s death. In front of the media, they cried very sadly. Especially Qing Jianping, who did not care about his image as a general and cried like a helpless person. After attending Madame G.'s funeral and returning to the Dragon Palace, Qing Wanduo hurried to Qing Jianxin's office. Godfather, look. Qing Wanduo handed the tablet to Qing Jianxin. Qing Jianxin gently pressed his eyebrows with 2 fingers. He looked tired. He glanced at the tablet that Qing Wanduo handed over. What are you looking at? You'll know when you look at it carefully, Qing Wanduo said. Chapter 559. Qing Jianxin lowered his eyes and pinched the bridge of his nose as he looked at the video playing on the screen. The video should have been taken by the owner of the video from a distance at the scene of the incident. The video seemed to have been stored for many years, and the clarity was not enough. It only showed a luxurious villa. On the second floor of the villa, there was a floor-to-ceiling glass window. In front of the window, two men seemed to be arguing about something. From the way they waved their hands, it was not hard to see that they were very agitated. Then, one of them started to hit the other. The one who was hit was slammed against the transparent glass window. The man behind him was holding a dagger and stabbing at the back of the man who was leaning against the window. The man resisted and turned around, looking like he wanted to push the man away. However, he was injured and was not as strong as the man. The man's dagger was aimed at his chest. It looked like he was going to stab the other party's heart. Then, the video was gone. When he saw this video, Qing Jianxin was in a bad mood. His expression changed drastically, and he grabbed the tablet. His pupils widened as he looked at the video in shock. Who uploaded this? Qing Wanduo saw his big reaction and asked instinctively, Godfather, is the man with the dagger in the video really you from 15 years ago? No. When Qing Jianxin heard this, he suddenly threw the tablet away. With a bang, the tablet became an innocent victim, and the screen instantly turned black. Qing Wanduo was stunned and looked at her tablet with heartache. She had very exciting adult videos on it. But, she looked at Qing Jianxin. His reaction was so big. Wasn't it giving people the feeling that he was trying to hide something? The man with the dagger in the video was not him, so why was he so agitated? Godfather. Qing Wanduo called Qing Jianxin softly. Qing Jianxin suddenly raised his head and looked at Qing Wanduo. Have you found out who uploaded this video? Qing Wanduo, the other party is a computer expert and should be a hacker. They did a very good job of blackening and hiding. It seems that they did not leave any traces. I can't find out who it is for the time being. He saw the netizens' comments. They said that the villa was the home of the previous president, Ban Dekhang. Although I can't see their faces clearly, I can tell from their figures that the injured one is Ban Dekhang, and the one holding the knife is. Qing Jianxin's eyes suddenly turned cold. Who is it? Qing Wanduo was startled by Qing Jianxin's gaze. She whispered, the people in the comments said, she looks a little like you. Nonsense. Qing Jianxin shouted angrily. Godfather, I've always regarded you as my biological father. Even if the man in the video is you, I won't tell anyone. But your reaction and attitude can only be shown in front of me. You can't be like this in front of outsiders. Qing Jianxin, Qing Wanduo, your big reaction and agitation will be seen through. Qing Jianxin's eyes flashed with surprise. Then, his gaze suddenly became incomparably vicious. With a cold murderous intent, he gritted his teeth and said, if I find out who uploaded the video, I'll kill them. Qing Wanduo hesitated for a moment and said, could it be Gu Yanhao? Qing Jianxin's gaze was incomparably sinister. 15 years ago, he was still a child. He didn't have the ability to take such a video. Maybe, someone gave it to him. Qing Jianxin's pupils shrank. Who? Chapter 560. Qing Wanduo, it doesn't matter who it is. What matters is, how many such videos does Gu Yanhao have? Qing Jianxin looked at Qing Wanduo and said in a commanding tone, go and investigate whether it was Gu Yanhao who uploaded it. If it was uploaded by him, help me find out how many such videos he has. Qing Wanduo nodded. Godfather, don't worry. Wanduo will definitely help you solve these thorny matters. After Qing Wanduo left, Qing Jianxin's landline rang. Qing Jianxin answered impatiently, Dragon Palace, Presidential Room. After he finished speaking, the other party let out a low sneer. This kind of laughter was cold, and it made Qing Jianxin's heart feel numb. Who are you? What are you laughing at? Qing Jianxin asked angrily. Damn it, he was actually playing tricks with him. Are you afraid? The other party seemed to have turned on the devil's voice. The voice was strange, and it didn't sound like a normal person's voice. However, there was a bone-chilling coldness in it. Qing Jianxin felt guilty and angry. Don't play tricks with me. I don't know what you're talking about. Ha, the other party laughed disdainfully. Tisk, you've been sitting in the president's position for more than 10 years, haven't you? I think you're too bored living in this world. Qing Jianxin said coldly. Yes, it's too boring to live. It's simply a waste if I don't do something exciting. Listening to the other party's words, Qing Jianxin was very sure that the other party must be the one who uploaded the video. Qing Jianxin, you've touched my bottom line. To be honest, I've kept all the evidence of you killing Ban Dechang's family. I'll put it online bit by bit and let the people of the country see the true face of the so-called president. Pausing for a moment, the other party smiled. Oh, I almost forgot. I'm very clear about everything you've done in the past 10 years that you've been the president. I've thought about it. If I'm too bored, I'll put them online one by one and let the netizens play with me. Who are you? Qing Jianxin was so angry that his whole body trembled. You won't be able to find out who I am, and don't expect to find me through this number. Once I hang up, this number will disappear without a trace. What do you want? I don't want anything. The woman I liked was killed by you. I'm taking revenge for her. Who is the woman you like? Qing Jianxin suddenly recalled that he had killed many women. Which one was it? You don't need to know. You only need to know that you provoked me. Qing Jianxin suddenly snorted. Do you think I'm afraid of you? You're the president. Of course you're not afraid of anyone. But I can let everyone in the country step on you one by one until you die. When Qing Jianxin heard this, his heart trembled. Isn't the video I uploaded today very exciting? Qing Jianxin gritted his teeth. There will be more exciting battles in the future. White clouds floated in the sky, and sheep and horses ran on the grassland. Magoo was sitting in front of a sculpture, drinking rice wine with a very high concentration. He drank until his face turned crimson and his eyes blurred. This sculpture was already in place. It was an ancient woman dressed in white, with a head of shiny black hair draped over her shoulders. She was holding a flute gently. She wore a veil, revealing a pair of beautiful eyes that seemed to be able to speak. The sculpture was so lifelike that it looked like a fairy standing there. He looked up and looked into the woman's eyes sadly. His voice was so hoarse that it couldn't be any hoarser. Will you come again? Chapter 561. His eyes carried the sadness of having experienced the vicissitudes of life, causing Mu Axian's heart to ache. Mu Axian had already been standing in front of him for 10 minutes, but he didn't notice at all. He leaned against the base of the sculpture and drank one bottle of rice wine after another. He was already drunk, but he still had more to drink. He raised his hand and touched the woman's foot. His deep voice carried endless pain. This time, how many cycles do you want me to wait? Brother, you're drunk. Mu Axian stepped forward and grabbed Magoo's hand with heartache as she said while choking with sobs. I'm not drunk. I want to be drunk, but I can't. Magoo glanced at Mu Axian and smiled bitterly. Mu Axian had never seen Magoo like this before. Her heart ached so much that tears overflowed from her eyes. You're already talking nonsense. How can you not be drunk? Mu Axian cried. Magoo raised his head and pointed at Mu Axian. After chuckling twice, he asked, Mu Axian, do you know who she is? Mu Axian raised her head and looked at the sculpture. It was a very beautiful woman. Her eyes didn't look like Song Wuyo's. Mu Axian wasn't too sure. Is it Sister Wuyu? Magoo nodded. Yes, it's her. Mu Axian choked with sobs and said, Wuyu is really beautiful. Mu Axian, how long has she been missing? It's been a week. Do you think she'll come again? Mu Axian nodded, yes. Sister Wu Yu will come back. Hee hee. When Magoo heard this, he smiled bitterly. Will she come? Will she? Yes. Mu Axian wiped her tears and cried, Sister Wu Yu will come back. Brother Aho. Mu Axian saw Gu Yanhao's tall figure walking over. She blinked and tears flowed down. Brother Aho is here. Magoo only leaned on the base of the statue. He seemed to have not heard Mu Axian's words. His face was filled with sorrow. Gu Yanhao walked over and stood behind Magoo. He raised his head and stared deeply into the eyes of the woman statue. This was the first time Gu Yanhao had come to the ranch since Magoo had installed the statue there. Gu Yanhao's heart ached when he saw the woman's eyes and the headdress. His eyes were filled with astonishment. Brother Aho. Mu Axian saw Gu Yanhao standing there silently looking at the statue. She was worried about him and called out to him. Gu Yanhao retracted his gaze and glanced at Mu Axian. He said in a low voice, Go back and get us something to eat. I want to accompany your brother. Mu Axian nodded, got up, and left. Gu Yanhao stood behind Magoo and looked at him with a complicated expression. Ah ho, guess who she is? After taking a sip of wine, Magoo pointed at the woman and asked. Gu Yanhao, Song Wuyo. That's right, it's Song Wuyo. Magoo smiled weakly. Same name, different person. No, same person. It was the same person in this world. She is imperial concubine Song Wuyo of the X dynasty. When Gu Yanhao heard this, he seemed to know something. His heart was thumping and clenching. Because his heart was in a mess, even his breathing was not smooth. He pursed his thin lips tightly. His facial muscles were tense and he clenched his fists tightly. Ever since I fell in love with her, I swore to the heavens that I would protect her well. If she lives, I live. If she dies, I die. Life is unpredictable. I couldn't protect her because I died before her. I couldn't accept it. In order not to forget her and find her in the next life, I didn't drink Granny Mang's soup and jumped into the river of forgetfulness. Chapter 562. When Gu Yanhao heard this, his gaze became incomparably deep. He suddenly went forward, walked around Magoo and sat down in front of Magoo, looking at him at eye level. He looked straight into Magoo's eyes and said in a low voice, Magoo, you're drunk. Magoo looked straight into his eyes and shook his head. No, I'm not drunk. How can I be drunk? In order to not forget the love and hate in my past life, and to not forget the ties in my heart, I jumped into the river of forgetfulness. For her, I'm willing to endure 1,000 years of longing, 1,000 years of helplessness, 1,000 years of suffering. If my heart doesn't die after 1,000 years, I will remember her in my past life. 1,000 years later, I reincarnated as a human and waited for her to come. But she is your woman. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao with eyes full of pain. I know she loves you and treats you as a treasure. I only want her to be happy. Why? Magoo's gaze suddenly became very cold, and very disappointed. He looked straight at Gu Yanhao. Why didn't you protect her well? Gu Yanhao's heart was filled with guilt and annoyance. Ah ho, why didn't you protect her well for me? As he spoke, tears fell from Magoo's eyes. He choked and said, This time, she's gone. How many thousand years do I have to wait? When will I be able to see her again? And in which lifetime will I be able to meet her again? Seeing Magoo's tears, Gu Yanhao's heart ached fiercely. He came over and helped the paralyzed Magoo up. Magoo, stop talking nonsense. You're drunk. I'm not drunk. Magoo suddenly pushed Gu Yanhao hard. Gu Yanhao was pushed away and fell on the grass. Magoo looked at him angrily. Dongfang Xian, stop pretending. When Gu Yanhao heard this, his eyes narrowed as he looked at Magoo in surprise. Magoo looked straight at him. Don't you feel anything at all? Don't tell me you haven't even dreamed about it. You are the reincarnation of Dongfang Xian. Gu Yanhao was shocked. I suffered torment under the river of forgetfulness, watching you walk to the village viewing platform again and again, drinking Granny Meng's soup, and then walking onto the bridge of helplessness. You can reincarnate and live in another world, but I, in order to not forget my love for her, suffer bitterly in the dark river of forgetfulness. I once thought that if you two met and fell in love in another life, I would give her my blessings, as long as she was happy. Finally, we met in this life. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao with reddened eyes. The last time she was injured here, she said, Dongfang Xian, please don't kill my 9 generations before she fainted. This awakened my love for her. Gu Yanhao was deeply moved by Muxin's feelings for Song Wuyo. His deep eyes were covered with red threads. At that time, I really wanted to kill you. Magoo smiled bitterly. If I killed you, she would not forgive me, and she would not fall in love with me. I was already prepared that I could not be with her in this life. If I died, I would jump into the river of forgetfulness again and experience the torment below again. There would be a life where she would fall in love with me. Ah ho, do you think she went back this time or reincarnated again? We are all here. If she went back, wouldn't she be very lonely? If she reincarnated again, would she be waiting for us in front of the 3-life stone or standing in front of the village viewing platform? Don't say any more. Gu Yanhao suppressed the surging emotions and pain in his heart. He grabbed Magoo's hand tightly and looked at him with burning eyes. Believe me. She is not dead. Chapter 563. Stop talking. Gu Yanhao suppressed the surging emotions and pain in his heart. He grabbed Magoo's hand tightly and looked at him with a torch-like gaze. Believe me. She's not dead. Magoo seemed to have not heard Gu Yanhao's words. He leaned back tiredly, his expression dispirited and incomparably sorrowful. His long eyelashes were wet with tears. He muttered, if I go look for her now, will I be able to meet her at the village viewing platform? When Gu Yanhao heard this, he was incomparably shocked. Magoo, Wuyo isn't dead. She won't die. Who are you kidding? Magoo looked coldly at Gu Yanhao. If she's not dead, why hasn't she returned after so long? If she's not dead, why did you give up looking for her? Actually, you're as afraid as I am. Afraid that she's dead and will cause us to find her corpse, aren't you? Even if she's not here, I won't allow you to do anything stupid. Gu Yanhao's tone was heavy. Hee hee. Muxin smiled bitterly. I'm just going to wait for her, not do anything stupid. Gu Yanhao looked at Magoo like a torch. She's my woman. You don't need to wait for her. When Magoo heard this, his heart trembled fiercely. He looked at Gu Yanhao, and a hint of sadness flashed through his eyes. She was his woman. This was a fact, in my heart, she's noble consort song. The heroic noble consort song. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao with a somewhat empty gaze. I'm guarding the woman I first met in the Axe dynasty. No matter where she goes in her next life, she's the woman I first met in that dynasty. Gu Yanhao's heart was extremely upset. He and Magoo were good friends who had played together since they were young. He knew very early that Magoo was interested in Song Wuyo. He had always held this relationship very well and never crossed the line. Therefore, there was never any awkwardness between them. Now, after hearing Magoo's words, he finally understood how much Magoo's heart hurt. However, when he thought of how infatuated Magoo was with Song Wuyo, he was very unhappy. No man would be happy when his good brother liked his woman. Fortunately, his woman only loved him. During this period of time, how could Gu Yanhao's heart not hurt? Without Song Wuyo by his side, he was dispirited. He did not go to the company and relied on alcohol to sleep every night. He clearly missed her, but he had never dreamed of her. He had heard that Migu had made a statue of a woman, which was why he had come to the ranch. Even though he knew that Zhang Xian had made ample preparations on the way here, he was still shocked. Migu was deeply in love with his woman. Gu Yanhao looked deeply at Migu. What if one day, Wuyo comes back? Migu's empty eyes seemed to light up for a moment. 3 seconds later, the light in his eyes dimmed again. He muttered, "What if she doesn't come back?" He looked at Gu Yanhao and smiled bitterly. What if she doesn't come back? Whether she comes or not, you can't have her. Gu Yanhao said angrily. He paused and looked deeply at Migu. When you do something stupid, have you ever thought about Muxin's feelings? She only has one brother, and you are her only family. When he thought of Muxin, Migu's heart ached. Drink. Migu picked up a bottle of wine and threw it at Gu Yanhao. I want to get drunk. Drink with me. Gu Yanhao took the bottle and looked down thoughtfully. He looked at the bottle seriously for a moment, then bit open the bottle cap, raised his head, and began to gulp down the wine. Chapter 564. When he raised his head, his gaze met the statue of the woman. Gu Yanhao paused and looked straight into her eyes. This was a colored statue. The woman's dress, hair, face, eyes, it was like a photo. It was even more vivid than the 2 women in the paintings that Migu gave to Song Wuyo. Gu Yanhao's heart clenched tightly. It was as if they were looking at each other. His eyes suddenly became hot. The corners of his eyes shone like morning dew. Gulp, gulp, he gulped down a few more mouthfuls. The rice wine with a very high concentration was poured into his stomach in a few gulps. A spicy smell rushed out from his stomach through his esophagus, causing him to cough violently. Cough, cough. Cough, cough. He held the wine bottle tightly with one hand and supported himself on the grass. His other hand was clenched into a fist. He put it to his mouth and coughed for a while. He turned his face slightly. In a place where Migu could not see, his usually deep and clear eyes were even sadder and gloomier than when Migu spoke just now. The light that shone at the corner of his eyes eventually turned into tears, wetting his long eyelashes. Then, it turned into crystal-clear water droplets and fell down his exquisite face. Here. He did not hear Gu Yanhao cough again. Migu threw him another bottle of wine. The wine gently fell into Gu Yanhao's arms, then slowly rolled down and fell beside his legs. Gu Yanhao turned his head and glanced at the bottle of wine. Then, he raised his eyes and looked at Migu. Migu held the wine bottle in his mouth. He gritted his teeth, tilted his head, and spat out the bottle cap. It was a very ordinary action, but it was extremely handsome when he did it. His sorrowful and empty eyes finally showed some anger. He held the wine bottle in his hand and reached out to Gu Yanhao. He smiled with vicissitudes of life. Ah ho, we haven't gotten drunk together in a long time. Today, let's get drunk. All right. Gu Yanhao bumped his shoulder. Let's get drunk today. He hoped that he would be able to see her gentle and sweet smile when he woke up and hear her sweetly call him, hubby. Ah ho, you didn't jump into the river of forgetfulness. You drank Granny Meng's soup and forgot about Noble Consort Song. Now, I'll tell you about it. Migu's lips twitched, revealing a smile that was even more heart-wrenching than crying. Gu Yanhao's lips twitched as he looked at Migu with a complicated expression. She's a girl, the smallest and skinniest soldier in the military. His skin was soft and tender, and he was very handsome. At first, I thought that she was forced to join the army. I was afraid that she wouldn't be able to bear the hardships, so I often gave her meat to eat in order to make her gain weight. Gu Yanhao silently looked at Migu and listened. But she doesn't seem to be very willing to accept my kindness. The more she doesn't accept it, the more I want to tease her. You don't know, but that was the most interesting thing for me in the military camp. I didn't know that she was a girl. When I told her dirty jokes, the way she blushed was especially cute. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. Was there really such a thing as the river of forgetfulness? Seeing how vividly Migu described it, it should be true. Did he really come to live in this world with the memories of his previous life? Gu Yanhao suddenly envied Migu. He was also very touched that he could jump into the river of forgetfulness without hesitation for Song Wuyo. He realized that there were very few babies watching. Boo-hoo, he wanted to cry. Babies, did they not like to watch such an intricate story? Chapter 565. She liked to hang out with Dongfang Xian. She was very concerned about him. She would rather get hurt than let him get hurt in the slightest. Gu Yanhao's eyes flashed. Her love for him was deeper than the mountains and deeper than the sea. Dongfang Xian treated her very well too. Us brothers would bathe together, and we would rush out when it rained and get wet together. But she never fooled around with us. Dongfang Xian said that she was a shy young man. She liked to bathe alone and sleep with Dongfang Xian. Later on, when I found out that she was a girl, my feelings for her changed completely. It became romantic. Migu smiled bitterly. But she and Dongfang Xian were childhood sweethearts. In order to be with him, they fought side by side. Hearing this, Gu Yanhao felt a sharp pain in his heart. Our relationship was very good. Dongfang Xian was the main general, and I was the deputy general. At this point, Migu looked at Gu Yanhao with a hint of blame in his eyes. It could be said that half of the country was won by her. Why? Why didn't you make her your empress? Gu Yanhao's heart trembled violently. Migu was a little agitated. He stared straight into Gu Yanhao's eyes. In the last battle, she was seriously injured. She lost a lot of blood and her wounds were infected with bacteria. The military doctor suggested that she be sent out of the military camp for treatment. Otherwise, she would die. You agreed, but she couldn't bear to leave you. In that battle, both sides suffered heavy casualties. If the battle continued, no one knew if they could win. The soldiers started to panic. On the third day after she was sent out of the military camp, the enemy surrendered, cough cough. Migu drank wine as he told the story. He was drunk. His eyes were hazy and his face was unusually red. At this point, his mind was a little distracted, and he collapsed on the lawn. He looked up and met the eyes of the woman statue. Suddenly, he smiled gently and said drunkenly, "The moment I saw you put on women's clothes, I was completely mesmerized by you." She was not a devastatingly beautiful woman, but she had given birth to a devastatingly beautiful woman. Gu Yanhao raised his head and followed Migu's gaze to look at the woman on the statue. "You're wearing a veil. I can't even see your face clearly." But it didn't matter. He didn't care about her appearance. "She's too beautiful. I won't allow anyone to see her true face." Gu Yanhao staggered over and laid down beside Migu. He pushed Migu and said drunkenly, "Why are you so concerned about my woman?" Migu turned sideways and glared at Gu Yanhao. "So what if she's your woman? Can't I treat her well?" "No." Migu wanted to get up, but his body didn't seem to belong to him. Just as he got up, he lay back down. He scratched Gu Yanhao's face. "You're always so overbearing. You don't love her, but you want to dominate her." I'm going to teach you a lesson for her. Who says I don't love her? Gu Yanhao pushed Migu's hand away. Migu's fingernails were a little long and scratched his face painfully. Damn it. You're jealous of my handsomeness. You want to scratch and disfigure me. If you love her, why don't you make her your empress? When I heard that you made her your empress, I really wanted to stab you to death, then ascend the throne and make her my empress. But he knew better than anyone that in her heart, no one could replace Dongfang Xian. Chapter 566. Therefore, if he killed Dongfang Xian, it would be equivalent to killing her. He couldn't do it. However, when he saw her disappointed and sad expression because he couldn't be empress, his heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. Gradually, Dongfang Xian started to treat her coldly. She no longer liked to talk and became a person of few words. She could no longer find her forthrightness on the battlefield. Empress is just a position and an identity. In my heart, even the empress can't replace her position, Gu Yanhao said. Who are you trying to fool? Who are you trying to fool? Migu finally turned over and pounced on Gu Yanhao. Then, he sat on Gu Yanhao's body and grabbed his neck. Gu Yanhao was drunk, but he didn't seem to be as drunk as Migu. He was unhappy to be ridden by Migu like this. He pushed Migu, and Migu fell back. Gu Yanhao turned over and sat on Migu. In turn, he grabbed Migu's neck. Dongfang Xian, let go of me, cough cough. Migu was even more unhappy to be ridden. I'm Gu Yanhao, not Dongfang Xian. I don't care who you are. Let go of me. Damn it, why are you sitting on me? Where did I sit on you? You're hurting my face. Am I disfigured? Gu Yanhao clawed at Migu's face unhappily. I want to scratch your face too. Damn it, sit further away. You know I'm still a virgin. If you press on me like this, I'll have a reaction. Moreover, that person was strangling him and his body was still hurting. If it was a woman, you're an old virgin. Ah ho, I don't want to shoot at you. Get lost. Migu used all his strength to push Gu Yanhao away. Gu Yanhao's body rolled down. His head hit the base of the statue with a bang. Damn it, Gu Yanhao felt dizzy and his vision turned black. He cursed in annoyance. Migu sat up with difficulty. He glanced at his crotch. Seeing that it wasn't protruding, he secretly breathed a sigh of relief. I'll kick you. Migu kicked Gu Yanhao's abdomen. He almost had a reaction in front of a man. He almost lost his virginity. This kick wasn't light. Gu Yanhao felt a burst of pain in his abdomen. He grabbed Migu's foot and lifted it up. Then he got up and dragged Migu away. Gu Yanhao, let go of me. Migu struggled, but it was useless. Gu Yanhao drank less than him. He wasn't drunk, so he had more strength. Gu Yanhao dragged him around the statue twice. When Migu looked at the statue woman's eyes, he sobered up for a moment. He actually made a fool of himself in front of her. He was bullied by Gu Yanhao. Ah, ah, ah. Migu seemed to release his strength. He suddenly jumped up. His movements were very handsome and beautiful. When he jumped up, he pounced on Gu Yanhao. His hands hooked around Gu Yanhao's neck. Gu Yanhao lost his balance. The two men fell down. You choked my neck, I choked yours. You pressed on top of me, I pressed on top of you. They rolled and rolled. Neither of them admitted defeat. Mu Axayan rode over and saw them hugging each other from afar. That posture, it looked like they were hugging and kissing. She was shocked. When the horse came closer, she realized that they were fighting. And, they were fighting in such a funny way. They were the three most beautiful men in M City. Their images were as charming as immortals. Now, they were fighting like this. Muaxian's heart beat faster. She came to their side and advised, "Stop fighting." Chapter 567. Were these two her biological brother and brother Aho that she knew? Where was his usual cool, handsome, noble, and elegant image? While rolling, Gu Yanhao's bent knee hit Migu there. Migu gasped and glared at Gu Yanhao. "Gu Yanhao, if you hit my little brother again, I'll fight you to the death." "Do you have a little brother?" "You only have a little sister." "Fuck, you don't have a little brother." "I'll kick you." Migu wanted revenge. Gu Yanhao successfully dodged. Seeing that Migu didn't kick him, he seemed to be in a good mood. Then, he slapped Migu's face. "You want to kick me? Do you know who I am?" Migu got slapped. In a fit of anger, he swung at Gu Yanhao's face. Slap, fuck. After being hit, Gu Yanhao cursed again. "That's enough." Mushin didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she saw them like this. They were drunk and didn't know what they had done. Mushin went forward to pull them aside. The two men even slapped her unhappily. Pain. Mushin was stunned on the spot. The two brothers who had always treated her well actually gave her a slap at the same time. Should she cry or laugh? She was in so much pain that she wanted to cry. But seeing them fight so well, she couldn't help but laugh. The two of them finally separated. Migu hurriedly shook his crotch. "Oh my God, you broke me. It's so soft now." Mushin's mouth twitched. She really wanted to dig a hole and hide in it. Why did she have such an embarrassing brother? At this time, if he wasn't soft, could he be hard? Wasn't it normal to be soft? He even said that it was broken. Gu Yanhao was probably tired and couldn't be bothered with Migu. He lay there panting. "Brother Aho, you're drunk. Don't lie on the ground, you'll get sick." Mu Axian came over and wanted to pull Gu Yanhao up. But how could a weak woman like her pull a drunk man up? Comfortable. At this time, Migu also lay down, gasping for breath. Mu Axian let go of Gu Yanhao and came to Migu's side. "Brother, get up. Don't lie down." Migu looked at her unhappily. Seeing that she was a girl, he suddenly wanted to tease her. He made a face at Mu Xinyo. "Pretty little sister, you'd better go away. Otherwise, I'll treat you like a dessert and eat you bite by bite." "Are you afraid?" "I'm scared, scared to death." Mushin let go of him and said angrily, "Your alcohol tolerance is really bad." Mushin had no choice but to call the butler and ask him to bring the two men from the ranch to bring them back. At night, Mushin talked to Su Jing on the phone. Su Jing told her about Ban Jianning's condition. Ban Jianning's condition was better. Song Wuyo's disappearance was a big blow to him. After he woke up from his coma, he didn't say a word. He didn't pester her either. He didn't even follow her back to the ranch. Mu Axian was a little worried about him. She was afraid that he would suddenly make a fuss about wanting to see her. Hence, she called Su Jing to ask about the situation. Su Jing said that he had eaten, but he didn't talk, didn't make a fuss, and was just like a very obedient child. She hung up. Mu Axian sat on the sofa in the living room and glanced at the clock on the wall. It was past 10:00. Brother Aho and Brother Aho had not woken up yet. Mu Axian's expression was solemn and her heart ached slightly. Thinking that Song Wuyo was no longer around, her eyes couldn't help but redden. At this moment, the door of the room on the first floor opened. Migu, who was wearing a white shirt and black trousers, came out scratching his head. Mu Axayan raised her head and looked at him. Brother, you're awake. Magoo looked in her direction and saw that both sides of her face were red and swollen. He was stunned and a cold look flashed past his eyes. Who hit you? Chapter 568. Magoo looked over at her. Seeing that both sides of her face were red and swollen, he was stunned. Coldness flashed across his eyes. Who hit you? Mushin pursed her lips. Who else could it be? Him and his good buddy, of course. Seeing that Mushin did not speak, Magoo rushed over and looked at Mushin coldly. Was it Chingjuangwa's damn girlfriend who hit you? Mushin shook her head. Just now, when she thought about Song Wuyo, her heart ached, but after being stirred up by Magoo, it became much better. She held back her laughter and even pretended that she did not dare to say anything. She looked so wrong that it made one's heart ache. At this moment, steady footsteps came from the stairs. Mushin knew that Gu Yanhao had also woken up. Gu Yanhao walked down the stairs slowly. After hearing Magoo's words, he stood there and looked at Mushin's face. Seeing that her face was red and swollen, he frowned slightly. A familiar yet unfamiliar, clear yet blurry image flashed through his mind. Under Magoo's protection, Mushin had been nourished until her skin was soft and tender. Her face, in particular, was as delicate as a freshly peeled egg, so delicate that it looked like it would break with a light touch. After being slapped by two men, her entire face was red and swollen. Any man who saw it would feel sorry for her. Magoo's heart ached. Don't be afraid. Tell me, who hit you? Magoo first gave Mushin a reassurance pill before saying coldly, if it wasn't Chingjuangwa's damn girlfriend, then it must be Chingjuangwa. Haven't you always been at the ranch? Why did you meet Chingjuangwa? Mushin took a deep breath. Brother, it wasn't Chingjuangwa. We didn't meet either. Ever since he pushed her to have a miscarriage, they had never met again. She was also trying to gradually forget about him. If it wasn't Chingjuangwa, then who was it? Other than Chingjuangwa, who dared to hit his sister? The video of her helping Ban Jianing bathe was also spread by the people at Chingjuangwa and Song Joyue's engagement party. They were all pointing fingers at her. No one could upload this video on the internet. After a long time, this incident was forgotten. Who else would hit her? What will you do if I tell you? Mushin looked at Magoo. Magoo's eyes were cold. Go back and slap him. It was you. These words were not said by Mu Axayan, but by Gu Yanhao. When Magoo heard this, he immediately turned to look at Gu Yanhao. You're talking nonsense. How could he bear to beat his sister up like this? Gu Yanhao smirked coldly. Did you forget what you did when you were drunk? Magoo frowned and thought hard. However, other than the severe headache, he could not remember what had happened. He looked at Mu Axayan. Mu Axayan, did I hit her? Mu Axayan blinked, nodded, and then glanced at Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao pursed his thin lips, and a hint of awkwardness flashed past his deep and slightly bloodshot eyes. Magoo was attentive. When he looked at Gu Yanhao, he caught the flash of awkwardness in Gu Yanhao's eyes. He raised his eyebrows and looked at Gu Yanhao, then at Mu Axayan, and asked, Ho was involved too? Mu Axayan pursed her lips and nodded. Fuck. Magoo cursed and spun around. He slapped his forehead, annoyed. How did I beat you up like this? Damn it. You were both drunk and fighting, Mu Axayan said. Magoo paused, then looked at Mu Axayan. Fighting. In the end, who won? Mu Axayan did not say who won, but reminded him kindly, brother, don't drink recklessly next time. You grew up drinking hummus. How can your alcohol tolerance be so bad? Chapter 569. What has this got to do with drinking horse milk wine? What did you say? My alcohol tolerance is bad. How is my alcohol tolerance bad? Am I spouting nonsense? Not only was he spouting nonsense, but he had also done something very embarrassing. Yes. Mu Axian nodded. He did not feel embarrassed, but she did. In order to prevent Migu from asking, she spoke first. As for what I said or did, don't ask. I'm embarrassed to say it. When Migu heard that, he frowned and looked at Mu Axian deeply. Then, he turned his head and looked at Gu Yanhao with a sharp gaze. You know what I said. Gu Yanhao's expression was indifferent. Yes. He did not know what he had done when he was drunk, but he remembered it when he was sober. He looked at Migu coldly. What wine did you buy? You're drunk after just a few bottles. You just can't hold your liquor well. It was only then that Migu noticed that there were a few finger scratches on Gu Yanhao's face. He teased, your alcohol tolerance is not much better. You even hurt yourself after drinking and scratched your own face. When Gu Yanhao heard that, his gaze turned incomparably cold. His entire body was emitting anger as he glared at Migu with a sharp gaze. You still have the nerve to say that you were the one who scratched me. Even though Migu had scratched him, he did not feel that he was at a disadvantage when he saw that Migu's face also had traces of being slapped. When Migu heard that, he suddenly had a feeling that he could not even recognize himself in the mirror and was even scolding the person in the mirror as an idiot. He looked at Gu Yanhao and pointed at himself. I scratched you. Migu, not only is your alcohol tolerance bad, your memory is also bad. Gu Yanhao was not even in the mood to tease him. Migu could not remember what happened when he was drunk at all. Brother, Ho is right. Your alcohol tolerance is really bad. You rarely get drunk in the past. Why are you drunk today? Mu Axian asked. Mu Axian's eyes darkened. She glanced at Mu Axian. If you're upset, you get drunk easily. Hearing him say that he was vexed, Mu Axian understood. Moreover, he had drunk so much. Usually, he did not drink so much, so of course, he would not get drunk. Today, he had drunk too much. If you're upset in the future, don't get drunk in front of girls. With your alcohol tolerance, you'll lose your virginity. Lost her virginity. Migu felt that this word was quite funny. Mu Axian, you teased me and even said that you wanted to treat me like a dessert and eat me bite by bite. She didn't want to tell him at first, but if she didn't, she was afraid that he wouldn't remember and would drink recklessly in the future. Mu Xin had no choice but to say, you're even shaking your crotch and touching your own. Mu Axian blushed shyly. When she said this, she vaguely said, he said it was kicked by big brother Aho and became soft. Oh my god, I don't believe it. Migu suddenly hugged his head. That's the truth. Mu Axian turned around and walked towards the kitchen. I'll go and heat up the food for you. After Mu Axian left, Migu sat on the sofa in frustration. He raised his head and looked at Gu Yanhao. Ah ho, I actually teased my own sister and even said that I became soft. Do you believe it? I do. Gu Yanhao walked over and sat on the sofa lazily. Migu looked at him. Why is it that I'm the one with bad alcohol tolerance and you're the one with good alcohol tolerance? Gu Yanhao swept a glance at him coldly. You're the one with bad alcohol tolerance and I'm the one with bad alcohol tolerance. Migu pursed his thin lips. That's not fair. He felt that his face was hurting and reached out to touch it. When he touched the scab on his face that was scratched by Gu Yanhao, he frowned. What happened to my face? Injured. Gu Yanhao looked over calmly. You're injured and bleeding. Fuck. Magoo seemed to be addicted to swearing. Am I hurting myself? I hit Muaxian and scratched myself. Chapter 570. Alcohol was indeed not a good thing. It could cause people to lose their minds and even cause them to harm themselves. Gu Yanhao rubbed his brows and looked at Magoo lazily. He would not tell him that he was the one who scratched Magoo's face. Mushin heated up the food that she left for them. After they were full, they went back to their rooms to sleep. The next day, Gu Yanhao, Magoo, and Mushin were having breakfast. Gu Yanhao was preparing to return to M City after breakfast. At this moment, Aude called him. After listening to Aude's call, Gu Yanhao felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He sat there stiffly for a long time and did not react. Magoo saw him like this and his heart tightened. He looked at him anxiously. Is there news about Wu Yu? Mushin also looked at him nervously. Her heart was tightly clenched. Was there bad news about Sister Wu Yu? Suddenly, Gu Yanhao stood up. His movements were too fast and anxious. His body slammed into the mahogany dining table. He even knocked over the goat's milk that he had not drunk. The cup fell, and the white goat's milk spilled on the tablecloth. Gu Yanhao strode out of the dining room. Magoo and Mushin also hurriedly followed him out. Gu Yanhao's footsteps were too fast. In a short while, he had already rushed out of the small bungalow and arrived in front of the car. Magoo and Mushin chased after him, but Gu Yanhao had already started the car. Looking at this situation, Magoo was even more certain that there was news about Song Wuyo. He pulled Mushin and got into his sports car. Then, he followed behind Gu Yanhao's car. They drove out of the ranch one after another and got on the highway. In less than 3 hours, they returned to M City. Gu Yanhao did not return to the manor directly. Instead, he went straight to the First People's Hospital. Did they really find Sister Wuyo? Mushin, who was in the car, looked at the words First People's Hospital and her heart thumped. After finding a parking space and parking the car, Magoo quickly got out of the car and followed closely behind Gu Yanhao. His heart was beating even faster than Muaxian's, as if it was about to leave his body. Muaxian's legs weren't as long as theirs, so she ran after them. Gu Yanhao came to the elevator. The elevators on either side were not on the first floor. Gu Yanhao gritted his teeth anxiously, turned around, and ran straight for the elevator. Magoo could only chase after him. Muaxian also chased after him, but after running for a while, she was panting from exhaustion. About 2 minutes later, Gu Yanhao's tall figure appeared in a single ward on the 9th floor. In the ward, Aude and a middle-aged woman stood in front of the bed. On the bed sat a young girl with sickly pale skin. The girl had short hair and wore a hospital gown. She was thin and small, with delicate facial features and pitch-black eyes. She looked to be about 22 years old. Hearing the hurried footsteps, the girl raised her head. The moment she saw Gu Yanhao, her slightly dim eyes suddenly lit up. Gu Yanhao. This sound was like a bell, fiercely hitting Gu Yanhao's heart. At the same time, it also bumped into Magoo, who had followed in. The two men stood there, looking at the girl in the ward in shock. Gu Yanhao's deep eyes were rolling with stormy waves. His heart was also rolling like a torrential river, somewhat unable to accept this result. Magoo raised his eyebrows, looking a little puzzled. Who was this girl? When Aude heard the girl excitedly eating Gu Yanhao, he quickly turned around and looked at Gu Yanhao respectfully. Young master. Gu Yanhao tried hard to calm his excited heart, looked at Aude, and asked coldly, what happened? Chapter 571. I rushed over as soon as I received her call, Aude said. Because of Song Wuyo's disappearance, Gu Yanhao was dispirited and did not care about the company's matters. He handed the phone to Ade and only brought the number that only Ade and Song Wuyo knew. When Gu Yanhao heard this, he raised his eyebrows and looked at the girl on the bed with a complicated gaze. The girl's eyes were bright and full of spirit as she looked at him. However, when she met his cold gaze and felt his oppressive aura, the girl's eyes dimmed. Gu Yanhao was very familiar with this expression. Ade looked at him and said, "Young master, when I picked up the phone, the first thing she said was, 'Gu Yanhao, I'm telling you, Song Wuyo is fine and has even woken up. I'm telling you, I won't divorce you. I won't divorce you even if I die.'" At that time, I was very surprised and asked her who she was. She was stunned for a moment and then arrogantly asked me, "Ade, where is your young master?" I rushed to the hospital and understood the situation. "She is." At this point, Ade stopped. She was the young madam. He really did not dare to believe it. "Who is she?" Gu Yanhao asked coldly. Then he looked at the girl. The girl pouted and looked at Gu Yanhao with resentment and dissatisfaction. Gu Yanhao frowned and looked at the girl. At this moment, Gu Yanhao's heartbeat accelerated. At this moment, the middle-aged woman looked at him timidly and said, "She is my daughter, Huang Ling. 7 months ago, she jumped off a building because of love. She did not die, but the doctor told her that she was in a vegetative state. I am a single mother and raised her alone. It was not easy. How could I afford to pay for her hospitalization? When I heard that she was in a vegetative state, I gave up on treatment and left her to fend for herself. I took her home. I go to work during the day and take care of her when I come home at night. For the past 7 months, I didn't have any hope for her. But a few days ago, when I was eating, I heard her cough. I ran in and saw her eyelids twitching. I was very excited. After all, she was my only daughter. I immediately called an ambulance and took her to the hospital. The doctor gave her a thorough examination and said that she was recovering. I was very happy. Over the past few days, after the doctor's hard work and me constantly talking to her to stimulate her, she finally opened her eyes early this morning, but... The woman wiped her tears and sobbed. She slept for 7 months and forgot about me, the mother who raised her for 22 years. She kept saying that she didn't know me and that she wasn't Huang Ling. Before I went to get the water, I asked the nurse for a phone and called this man over. When the woman said, "This man," she glanced at Ade and sniffed. She continued, "When this man came, she called out his name. I've been here with her for so long, but she actually forgot my name. What a sin. She even forgot her own mother after being in a vegetative state. What a sin." The girl seemed to be very tired of hearing the woman's words. She suppressed her temper and looked at the woman unhappily. "You're not my mother. My mother is Yang Xiaolan. She died a long time ago. My stepmother is Yang Yuhui. She's much prettier and younger than you. Huang Ling, your brain has been damaged. Mom begs you not to talk nonsense, okay?" The woman said sadly. Chapter 572. She was an extremely ordinary woman. After her daughter was injured, she rarely used her cell phone because she had no money to pay for her calls. Moreover, she had to work during the day and go home at night to take care of her daughter. After all that, she was so tired that she barely watched the news. Therefore, she had never heard of Gu Yanhao, Song Wuyo, Magu, and Qing Junhua, who had recently become famous in M City. She had never seen or heard of them before. When she heard her daughter ask if she was Huang Ling, the woman completely thought that her daughter had hit her head. However, she did not expect that her daughter would actually know another man. She also did not recognize her biological mother who had painstakingly raised her. The woman even wanted to die. This silly girl. Suicide for love was not enough. When she woke up, she even called a few men over. The woman glanced at them with some fear even though she did not know who they were. However, from their clothes and aura, she could tell that they were powerful and rich people. The girl who was called Huang Ling looked at the woman with some annoyance. However, when she saw Gu Yanhao, that annoyance instantly became a little listless. She pursed her lips and looked at the woman with an expression that said, "I already said that I'm not Huang Ling." She wanted to be arrogant but did not have the right to be. She wanted to be arrogant in front of Gu Yanhao but did not dare to be arrogant. Gu Yanhao was very familiar with that expression. Although her appearance and figure had changed, that gaze and that charm were exactly the same as Song Wuyo before the accident. Gu Yanhao's gaze was locked onto Huang Ling's face. A look of disbelief flashed across his eyes. Song Wuyo's soul ran into her body. He did not believe in such a ridiculous and magical thing in the past. Later, after experiencing all this with Song Wuyo, he believed it. He believed it completely. He just treated it as if he was living in a fake world. In this world, anything could happen. However, he did not dare to believe that this was the real Song Wuyo. 7 months ago. Which day did you jump off the building? Gu Yanhao asked in a deep voice. At this time, Mu Axian appeared panting. She stood beside Migu, panting heavily. His gaze swept across the ward, and disappointment flashed across his eyes. Seeing her two brothers rushing over, she thought that Wuyo had found her. Mu Axian glanced at the girl on the bed and wanted to ask Migu what was going on. But when she heard Gu Yanhao's question, she took a deep breath and stopped talking. The woman replied, "It was early in the morning on March 6th. It was her birthday. I was woken up by a phone call in the middle of the night. Only then did I know that she had come down from the building she rented. Fortunately, it was an old district and only had 3 floors. There was even a lawn below. If it was a concrete slab, would there still be heads?" After Huang Ling heard this, she looked like she wanted to laugh. She muttered in a low voice, "I was injured in a car accident, okay? Old district. I live in a villa. Why is it rented out? You even described it so vividly. It's as if there really is such a thing." Although her voice was soft, the ward was very quiet. Everyone could hear her muttering. "Villa? Do you think I don't know how much your monthly salary is? Sigh, forget it. Huang Ling, Mom won't force you. You can be whoever you want to be, but don't disown Mom, okay?" The woman finally compromised. Her brain was damaged, and she had woken up after sleeping for so long. It was understandable that she would show an abnormal side. She would recover slowly in the future. "When did you start to wake up?" Gu Yanhao asked again. "On the afternoon of the 13th. Chapter 573. On the afternoon of the 13th, it happened to be the anniversary of her dead father's death. I got off work early and made her and her father's favorite dishes. I ate alone with 2 empty bowls and chopsticks. My heart ached so much. Perhaps her father's spirit had manifested. At that moment, she coughed twice. The 13th, when Gu Yanhao heard that, his heart clenched tightly. That day, the yacht had exploded, and the day this girl jumped off the building was also the day Song Wuyo had gotten into a car accident. She had jumped off the building in the wee hours of the morning. Song Wuyo had gotten into a car accident in the morning. Although the timing was not accurate, the dates were so coincidental. Gu Yanhao pursed his thin lips tightly. His emotions were tumbling and his heart was pounding wildly. On the other hand, Migu's heart was heavy and clenched tightly. His hands that were hanging by his sides were clenched tightly. His gaze was locked on Huang Ling's face. She had inherited Song Wuo's soul. Looking at her demeanor, she was completely different from the woman he knew. She was quite similar to the arrogant and despotic Song Wuo in the past. Gu Yanhao suppressed the agitation in his heart and went forward to sit in front of the bed. Huang Ling looked at him without blinking. When she saw that he was looking at her, she pursed her lips and looked at him quietly. "You know me?" Gu Yanhao asked. Huang Ling suddenly laughed. That laughter was exactly the same as Song Wuo's before the car accident. "Gu Yanhao, my husband. How can I not know you?" The girl looked at Gu Yanhao with an amused expression. "I'm not stupid. Also, don't try to cut ties with me. I will not divorce you to let you and my elder sister be together." "Huang Ling, you jumped off the building because of him." The woman was surprised. "Didn't you jump off the building because of Zhang Dong? Are you done? What, 7 months ago? What jumping off the building? Can you stop talking about it in front of me? So annoying." Huang Ling looked at the woman unhappily. "If you don't give up, I'll call my stepmother here to prove to you that I'm not your daughter." As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and asked for Gu Yanhao's phone. "Gu Yanhao, give me your phone." When she woke up, everything seemed to have changed. She couldn't even find her phone. Gu Yanhao pursed his thin lips slightly and looked indifferently at the small hand that was reaching over. Perhaps it was because she had slept a lot, but her hands were very small. The patient was very big. If she didn't reach out, her small hands would always be in her sleeves, and her hands wouldn't be seen. Even so, he could only see half of her fingers. Gu Yanhao raised his hands and helped her roll up her sleeves. His movement was very light. Huang Ling was stunned and looked at him in astonishment. "Gu Yanhao." Gu Yanhao looked at her. "Are you very surprised?" Huang Ling's originally pale face flushed red. When she heard his deep voice, she was even more stunned. "You? Didn't you hate me and ignore me? Why are you helping me? Roll up my sleeves." Huang Ling lowered her head and looked at her hand that was not covered by her sleeve. She frowned slightly, looking very conflicted, as if she was thinking. Then, she raised her other hand and looked at it. She muttered, "That's strange. Don't I have a scar on my arm? That was left behind when I failed to cut my wrist to commit suicide." "When did you cut your wrist to commit suicide? Why didn't I know?" The woman came forward and looked at Huang Ling in surprise. Huang Ling suddenly raised her head and looked at the woman arrogantly. "Do I have to inform you of everything I do? You said you're my mother, but you're not Yang Xiaolan. How did you become my mother? That's weird." Chapter 574. The woman was rendered speechless by her words. She sighed and shook her head, saying helplessly, "What's the difference between waking up and not waking up? If she didn't wake up, it would bring her endless pain. If she woke up, it would bring her an endless blow." When Migu heard the woman's words, his deep eyes suddenly became very cold. He looked at the woman coldly. It was obvious that he didn't like to hear such words from her. The woman seemed to feel his cold gaze. She turned her head and glanced at Migu. With this look, the woman's heart trembled and a chill ran down her spine. She quickly retracted her gaze, not daring to look at Migu. She thought to herself, what kind of people are these? How did Huang Ling get to know such a cold group of people? Gu Yanhao looked at Huang Ling's gaze. It was neither cold nor warm. He asked in a deep voice, "Did you know that you slept for 7 months?" Huang Ling frowned and looked straight into Gu Yanhao's eyes. "So, it's true. She told me just now, but I didn't believe it." The girl was referring to was the woman. "We swam together, went to France together, and participated in the fashion competition together. Do you remember?" Gu Yanhao asked tentatively. When Huang Ling heard that, her face was suddenly filled with pain. Her eyes were red as she looked at Gu Yanhao's eyes. So, you and my sister have already developed to this point. After saying that, Huang Ling's crystal tears fell. So, I slept for 7 months. No wonder when I woke up, my mind was muddled and I felt like I wasn't myself. Gu Yanhao, you're so cruel. You actually hooked up with Song Jiuyue when I was unconscious. You even swam together and went to France together. Why don't you say that you slept together? Gu Yanhao lowered his eyes. The stormy waves in his eyes were even more intense. It was Song Wuyo. It was the Song Wuyo of the past. The Song Wuyo of the past did not hold back in front of him. If they liked to curse, they could curse. If they wanted to curse, they could curse. That included him. Sometimes she was very afraid of him, but when he made her unhappy, she would speak to him very impolitely. She liked him, but unlike other women, she was not submissive to him. Gu Yanhao now believed that Song Wuyo's soul had transmigrated into her body. Regardless of whether it was a car accident 7 months ago or when the yacht exploded, both dates were on the same day, and the result was the same. That wisp of soul had returned. Her memory stopped at 7 months before the car accident. She didn't know what happened after the car accident. In other words, she did not know or participate in what he and Song Wuyo had been doing for the past 7 months. If her soul was in this body, then, Gu Yanhao felt a sharp pain in his heart. What about her? She encountered the explosion of the yacht and her physical body was destroyed, so she returned the soul of this life to Song Wuyo. He clearly knew that she did not belong to this world. Now that he was facing the real Song Wuyo, why did his heart hurt so much? Brother, what's wrong? Mushin's voice startled them. Migu's body staggered backward. Mushin was shocked and quickly supported him. She was even more shocked when she saw that his complexion was terrible. Migu's eyes were filled with grief. There were even tears glistening in them. He looked straight at the girl on the bed. The girl also looked up and looked at him. Seeing him looking at her with a pair of teary eyes, she was very surprised. She thought for a moment and asked, "Aren't you Migu?" Why? Why did he have such a reaction when he saw her? She did not remember having such deep feelings for this man whom she had not interacted with much. He would cry in front of her. Chapter 575. Gu Yanhao turned around. When he saw Migu's desperate eyes, his heart ached. Migu only met his gaze for a moment, then turned around and strode away. His footsteps were a little staggered, as if he was drunk and unsteady. Mushin did not know that the sister Wuyo she had always admired was actually imperial concubine Song of the Axe dynasty. She was dumbfounded by the scene in front of her. The only thing she knew was that her brother's heart was in pain and sorrow. Brother, Mushin chased after him. After Migu and the others left, the girl called Huang Ling blinked in confusion. She was also dumbfounded. Gu Yanhao looked up and glanced at Ade. Take her out. Ade understood and nodded. Then, he said to the woman politely, Madam Lu, let's leave for a while. The woman looked puzzled. As she followed Ade out, she muttered, why do we have to leave? Could it be that he really is Huang Ling's husband? How is that possible? I'm her mother. How could I not know if she's married? That's not right. She jumped off the building for that damn man, Zhang Dong. After the woman left, Ade closed the door. Huang Ling's face was full of disdain for the woman's nagging just now. When she looked at Gu Yanhao, her disdainful gaze instantly turned into infatuation. Gu Yanhao looked at her deeply and then got up. Gu. Huang Ling looked up at him in surprise. Was he going out too? Gu Yanhao did not go out. Instead, he went into the washroom. He took out a mirror from the washroom and handed it to Huang Ling. Huang Ling took it in confusion. What are you doing? Reflect. Gu Yanhao's words were simple and clear. Oh. Huang Ling took a look at herself in the mirror. She looked at herself in the mirror in shock. How did this happen? After being stunned for a few seconds, she raised her head and looked at Gu Yanhao. I was disfigured and then had plastic surgery to look like this. Gu Yanhao pulled out a chair and sat down. Huang Ling's gaze followed his movements. Song Wuyo was the only woman who dared to look at him so boldly. You didn't forget your birthday, did you? Huang Ling shook her head. I didn't forget. She then told him her birthday. Where's mine? Huang Ling answered. The answer she gave was correct. What about Grandpa? Huang Ling's answer was also correct. What did you do after my parents died? Huang Ling's eyes flashed with a touch of sadness. At the door of your room, to be sad with you. Gu Yanhao asked her a lot of questions, and she answered them all fluently. Then, he briefly told her about his transmigration. Of course, he didn't tell her about noble consort Song. After Huang Ling heard this, she was shocked and looked at Gu Yanhao in disbelief. You said that my soul transmigrated to this body. How surprising. Yes. Gu Yanhao nodded lightly. Huang Ling suddenly heaved a sigh of relief. Even so, I'm still Song Wuyo. You are Huang Ling, and this body belongs to her. In the future, you can live under the name Huang Ling. After all, you will need her identification in the future. But my thoughts are Song Wuyo's. The person I love is you, not that Zhang Dong. Huang Ling was not as surprised as before. Instead, she was more pained. She looked at Gu Yanhao. My appearance and figure have changed. You will divorce me even more. Gu Yanhao looked at her deeply. Take care of your body. I will take you back. Huang Ling heard this. You won't divorce me. Chapter 576. Don't mention divorce for the time being. He was very upset. On his marriage certificate, there was a photo of him and Song Wuyo. If he divorced and brought Huang Ling to the Civil Affairs Bureau, the two of them were so different. Would the people in the Civil Affairs Bureau not be able to tell? Huang Ling was very happy when she heard that he would not mention divorce. She looked at Gu Yanhao with a smile. I feel very energetic. I don't want to stay in the hospital for a long time. You can be discharged whenever the doctor says. Listen to the doctor. Gu Yanhao's tone was still considered good, but Huang Ling's heart was pounding. She held the mirror and looked at herself, muttering, although I'm not used to this ordinary face, I feel that this injury is worth it if you don't divorce me. You just woke up. You should rest more. Lie down and rest first. I'll go and ask the doctor about your condition. Gu Yanhao got up. Okay. Huang Ling nodded and watched Gu Yanhao's figure leave. After Gu Yanhao left, Huang Ling smiled and said, It's not bad to live with the identity of Huang Ling. At least I can get his gentleness. Magoo rushed to the roof of the hospital and stood at the edge. He raised his head and roared at the sky. Muxin, who followed him, heard him shouting as if he was venting, and her heart ached for him. She walked over and stood beside him. She raised her head and looked at him with heartache. If he was sad when she saw him drinking yesterday, then he was in extreme pain now. Despair and sorrow. Brother. Muxin's voice was choked with sobs. Why? Magoo shouted at the sky. Why did you take her away? Why? Why wasn't Huang Ling sold the woman he loved? Why? Huang Ling woke up with the real Song Wuo's soul. Then what about his noble consort Song? Did she go back and never come back again? Ah! No matter how he shouted, Magoo could not vent the pain in his heart. There was no end to it. The pain would only increase. Brother, what are you talking about? Muaxian asked, why? Did that woman say she was Sister Wuo? Magoo suddenly felt his legs go soft as he knelt on the ground. Brother! Muaxian was shocked and wanted to help him up. But when he reached out his hand, he didn't know what to do. Magoo knelt there on both knees and held his head with both hands. His slender and beautiful fingers pulled at his hair forcefully. Oh! He shouted in a low voice, like an injured beast, letting out a muffled cry of pain. Seeing him like this, Muaxian felt as if her heart was being cut by a knife. The pain was indescribable. Muxin had always liked reading online novels, especially novels about rebirth and transmigration. She recalled the woman in the ward, Gu Yanhao's reaction, and Magoo's pain. A wisp of shock flashed past Muxin's eyes. She grabbed Magoo's arm with both hands and asked anxiously, Brother, is Sister Wuo dead and her soul transmigrated into Huang Ling's body? Muxin, my heart hurts. Magoo's originally pleasant voice choked up. Brother, don't be like this. At least Sister Wuo is still alive. Muxin was very calm and didn't feel that transmigration was ridiculous. You don't understand. Magoo cried softly. Muxin was shocked. Brother, was crying for Sister Wuo. Brother, please don't be like this. Muxin also knelt down and hugged Magoo from the side. She cried, I know you like Sister Wuo, but she is Aho's wife. Even if she has become Huang Ling now, she hasn't forgotten us. Why are you so sad? Chapter 577. My heart aches when I see you like this. How can you cry? If Brother Aho knows that you like his wife so much, he'll blame you. Brother, don't cry. You still have me. You still have me. No matter what happens, I'll never leave you in this lifetime. Even if I get married in the future, I'll live on the ranch and stay with you. Brother. Muxin hugged Magoo and cried. Magoo hugged his head and cried softly. Their pain seemed to have infected the heavens. The sky was shining with the sun, but the rain actually floated down. The cold wind chilled people's hearts. Aude pushed open the door to Gu Yanhao's office and walked in. Gu Yanhao sat lazily on the soft leather sofa with a deep expression. When he saw Aude walk in, he looked up and glanced at him coldly. Aude stood beside him and said, Young master, it's really like what Huang Ling and Madame Lu said. 7 months ago, Huang Ling jumped down from her rented apartment because of love. The neighbors said that Huang Ling had a good style and was a very nice and talkative child. But when she suddenly jumped down, it scared the neighbors. I went to Huang Ling's previous company to ask around. Before Huang Ling was injured, she was indeed in a relationship with a superior named Zhang Dong, and this company forbade office relationships. One wanted to date secretly, while the other wanted to date openly. They quarreled and broke up. Huang Ling couldn't take it anymore and jumped off the building that night. The doctor who saved her gave a report that she was mentally injured and was in a vegetative state. But if she was stimulated more, she might recover. Her friends, colleagues, and neighbors thought very highly of Huang Ling. Everyone liked this cheerful girl, but they didn't expect her to be so deeply in love that she committed suicide because of love. When she was in a coma for a few months, her friends and colleagues would come to visit her at first. But as time passed, their love faded and their hearts turned cold, so they stopped visiting her. Between her coma and waking up, other than her birth mother, Madame Yang, and the doctor who treated her, no one came in contact with her. Young master, it's very likely that she really woke up because young madam's soul transmigrated. Although Ade didn't believe it, he went to investigate and didn't find any flaws. And Huang Ling kept saying that she was the young madam, so she knew everything about when she came to the young master's side and when she fell in love with the young master. Her tone, and charm were also very similar to the arrogant and unlikable young madam of the past. After Gu Yanhao heard this, he was silent for a moment, and then said in a deep voice, "If she can be discharged, you can take her back to the manor." Ade was slightly taken aback. "Young master, aren't you going to bring her home personally?" Gu Yanhao looked deeply at Ade. "Maybe she's more used to my indifference." Ade boldly asked, "Young master, do you think that Huang Ling's appearance is not as beautiful as young madam's, and her temperament is not as good as young madam's, so you don't like her anymore?" Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. "What does it have to do with you? Don't talk too much." "Ade, I just want young master to be happy." "Gu Yanhao, I can't be happy right now. Go back to work and let me be alone. Your long eyelashes have been fluttering for a long time, and your beautiful eyelids are also moving. Are you awake but unable to open your eyes? You don't mind if I help you, right?" A man wearing a wine-red shirt and a white vest sat in front of the bed as he spoke to the woman lying on the bed with her eyes closed. This man was no stranger. He was the French Maupassant. And the person lying on the bed was our Song Wuyo. Chapter 578. After saying that, he reached out and opened Song Wuyo's eyelids. The eyelids opened, and the pitch-black eyeballs moved. It seemed to be dry. The eyelids that were opened were moving, as if they were blinking. Maupassant let go of his hand. Sure enough, with his help, Song Wuyo's eyelashes fluttered for a while, and then she slowly opened her eyes. Maupassant smiled at her. "If I had known that you would wake up so quickly, I would have done it earlier." Song Wuyo's expression was a little blank. "We meet again. I saved you twice." "We are really fated," Maupassant said as he looked at Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo looked at Maupassant with a blank face. This handsome man with brown eyes looked a little familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had seen him before. Maupassant saw her blank look and stared at her. "Have you lost your memory?" "I want to drink water," Song Wuyo said. Her voice was a little hoarse, and he could tell that she was very thirsty. "Wait a moment." Maupassant got up and went out. Song Wuyo looked at the room in front of her. The decoration was pure white, and the style was simple. The wardrobe and chairs were all mainly white. Where was this? Who was that man just now? Song Wuyo's gaze looked around, and finally fell on the photo frame on the bedside table. The photo in the frame was a group photo. A group of people in military uniforms and military caps stood in rows in the photo. The one standing in the front and in the middle was the man who went out just now. Seeing him in military uniform, Song Wuyo suddenly remembered who he was. The last time in the French forest, he was the soldier Maupassant who brought her out of the forest. Song Wuyo frowned. Why was she here? She tried hard to think, and her muddled brain finally regained consciousness. There was a yacht at that time, and Mrs. G. Eyre asked her to jump into the sea in a panic. Before she could get out of the cabin, the yacht exploded. She and Lady Dale were swept into the sea. She used to be able to swim, but because of the impact of the explosion, she suffered internal injuries. She couldn't use martial arts and couldn't control herself to swim. His body was like a rock, sinking straight to the bottom of the sea with gravity. The bottom of the sea was very deep. She was getting further and further away from the surface. At that moment, her mind began to go blank. "I don't want to think about anything." She didn't faint, and her eyes weren't closed. Her mind was blank. Even when his eyes were soaked in seawater, he didn't feel any pain. He just kept his eyes open, his mind blank, and his body sinking. She saw many different kinds of sea animals at the bottom of the sea. There were also huge sharks swimming towards her leisurely. She didn't know if they would attack her. At this moment, she saw a fully armed person swimming towards her. She could only see his long body but not his face. The other party's movements were agile, like a mermaid's. Song Woo-yo watched as the man reached out and grabbed her waist. Then, he put something like an oxygen mask on her mouth that looked like the oxygen mask worn by patients in the hospital. He took her to the bottom of the sea and left the scene. At this moment, Song Woo-yo, whose mind was blank, slowly closed her eyes. When she woke up again, she found herself here. Maupassant's words echoed in her ears. He saved her twice. Song Woo-yo pursed her lips. So, the person who saved her at the bottom of the sea was him. Maupassant came in with a glass of water. He didn't wear his military uniform. In his casual military uniform, he looked even more handsome and sunny. Song Woo-yo sat up. Her body felt a little uncomfortable, but it didn't hurt. She took the water from him. Thank you for saving my life. Chapter 579. Maupassant's voice was pleasant, and his accent was not standard. You seem to be in good spirits. I didn't sleep in vain for the past 10 days. When Song Woo-yo heard that, she looked up at Maupassant in surprise. I slept for 10 days. I slept for 10 days. Maupassant nodded. His deep brown eyes sparkled as if he was smiling. Yes, including today, it's the 11th day. Song Woo-yo did not even drink water. She wanted to get out of bed, but Maupassant held her down. She looked at Maupassant warily. Maupassant smiled at her brightly. I'll send you back. You don't have to be anxious. I've been feeding you liquid food and injecting nutrients for the past 11 days. But that's not enough. You should calm down and drink a glass of milk. Even if you don't think for yourself, you have to think for the baby in your stomach. Song Woo-yo was stunned. The baby in my stomach. Maupassant smiled. Yes, when the doctor examined you, he found that you were bleeding. After further examination, he found that you were pregnant. In order to protect the baby in your stomach, the doctor advised the patient not to sit up. In the end, they kept lying down and waited for the fetus to stabilize before moving appropriately. So, I didn't send you back to your husband. When Song Woo-yo heard that, she quickly lay back on the bed. Her movements were fast, but she was very careful. Seeing that she was so nervous about the baby, Maupassant's brows revealed a hint of tenderness. He smiled and said, "Women who are nervous about the baby are very cute. You remind me of my beautiful and kind mother." Song Woo-yo was now full of joy, and her eyes were filled with excitement. She was pregnant. She was finally pregnant. She gently placed her hands on her lower abdomen, and a sweet feeling welled up in her heart. If Ah-ho knew that I was pregnant, he would be very excited. Thinking of Gu Yenhao, a hint of doubt flashed across Song Woo-yo's eyes. She had been lying here for 11 days. Did he not look for her? Song Woo-yo looked at Maupassant. Where is this? City A of K country. Song Woo-yo was surprised. The original owner's memory told her that a city and M city weren't very far apart. Yes, you are really lucky. If I hadn't brought my brothers to the sea to train their diving skills, you would have been swallowed alive by the sharks, Maupassant said. You're French. Don't you have seas in France? Why did you come to K country for this training? Song Woo-yo asked, puzzled. Maupassant smiled and said, because the girl I like is here. I plan to stay here and use my sincerity to move her and bring her back. Song Wuyo smiled and said, yes, you will. You are a kind-hearted soldier. That girl will definitely like you. By the way, my husband didn't look for me. With his ability, he should know that she was in a city, right? Maupassant gave an amused smile. They've been looking for you like crazy. Not only my husband, but there's also another group of people who've been looking for you like crazy. But your traces have been erased by me. They can't find you. When he took her from the bottom of the sea, no one on the sea or on the land saw it. When Song Wuyo heard this, she looked at Maupassant in surprise. Why did you do this? They've been looking for me like crazy. Why didn't you tell them that I was here? When I came to K country, I heard people say that the most powerful men in K country were Gu Yanhao and Qing Junhua. I didn't believe it. I tried Gu Yanhao's ability, but it wasn't the same. Having ability doesn't mean that you're a god who knows everything. Song Wuyo muttered. They were mortals. The so-called ability was money and a group of loyal subordinates. Chapter 580. Maupassant said, 5 days ago, 2 groups of people kept looking for you. They almost broke through my barriers. Song Wuyo looked at Maupassant quietly. Maupassant said, but I don't know why, but these 2 groups of people stopped looking for you at the same time. Song Wuyo pursed her lips. They must think that I'm dead. Sometimes, when a person was in despair, their heart would die. She didn't need to ask Maupassant to know who these 2 groups of people were. One group was Gu Yanhao's and the other group was Migu's. Now that you're awake, I'll ask the doctor to come and check on you. If there's nothing wrong with your body, I'll send you back to M City, Maupassant said. Song Wuyo was indeed anxious to see Gu Yanhao. But she had to think about the child in her belly. She knew that the child was very fragile. This body had been pregnant before and had a miscarriage in a car accident. Then, she had been injured repeatedly and had fallen into the sea when she was pregnant. Even if she could bear with it, the child wouldn't be able to bear the impact. Gu Yanhao had worked so hard to have this child. She had to cherish it, love it, protect it and give it the best. Have a rest. I'll ask someone to get milk for you. With that, Maupassant left the room again. After Maupassant left, Song Wuyo thought about her pregnancy and couldn't help but laugh. She lay there and looked left and right at the bedside table. Sigh, there was no phone. If there was a phone, she would call Gu Yanhao now to give him a surprise. Song Wuyo stroked her belly gently and wondered what Gu Yanhao was doing at this time. He hadn't found her whereabouts for so long and suddenly gave up. Did he think that she was gone? Without her by his side, he must be very sad, right? She missed him so much. She wanted to suddenly appear in front of him. M City. Gu Yanhao had been working crazily for the past few days. Meetings, visits to the base, social engagements, appointments with clients, he was busy from morning to night. When he returned to the manor every night, it was already late at night. Seeing him like this, Aude's heart ached. He knew that the young master worked so hard, leaving early every day and coming back late at night because he didn't dare to face the young madam. Today was Friday, and the next day was a rest day. If it was in the past, the young master would definitely cherish and make good use of these 2 precious days to accompany the young master. Because it was the weekend, it was not very busy. There were no clients or social engagements. The employees of the Gu clan had already gotten off work. Meanwhile, Gu Yanhao was working overtime in the CEO's office. Aude accompanied him. The so-called overtime was just scrolling through WeChat. Song Wuyo's WeChat message appeared on the screen. He was looking at their previous conversations. Now, he could only reminisce about it. Sometimes, they would chat in text. Sometimes, they would chat in voice. "Hubby, I got a big client. Am I good?" Hearing her voice, a trace of sadness flashed past Gu Yanhao's deep eyes. He would never hear such a beautiful voice in this lifetime. If they couldn't find her and couldn't salvage her body, she might have been eaten by a shark, just like Guijier. Guijier wasn't so bad. At least his family found the upper body of his body. As for her, when he thought of her being eaten by a shark, Gu Yanhao's heart ached so much that he couldn't breathe. Hearing this voice message and seeing the sadness in Gu Yanhao's eyes, Audiobook sympathized with him. "Young master, it's the weekend and you're not so busy. Aren't you going back to accompany the young madam?" Audiobook asked. Chapter 581. After being discharged from the hospital, Huang Ling was brought back to the manor. The moment Huang Ling appeared in the manor, she was very surprised. Wasn't it a villa before? How did it become a manor? He didn't tell Huang Ling about Imperial Concubine's Song of the Axe Dynasty. He didn't think it was necessary. His feelings for her would be hidden in the bottom of his heart for the rest of his life. Other women had no right to share his feelings. Hearing Audiobook's words, Gu Yanhao shot him a cold and sharp gaze. "Please call her Miss Huang." Audiobook realized that he was wrong. He lowered his head and admitted his mistake. "I'll be careful next time." However, young master, Miss Huang inherited young madam's memories before the car accident. Even if her body has changed, her thoughts haven't changed. Will she be very sad if you treat her like this? Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows and looked at Audiobook coldly. "How did I treat her?" "I heard from Sister Song that she saw Miss Huang standing on the balcony at night a few times, looking disappointed when you came back." "Young master, she's Miss Huang now, but in her mind, she's your wife. Do you plan to continue like this?" Audiobook only hoped that his young master could be happy. He already knew what was going on. The noble, capable, and elegant young madam from before was Imperial Concubine's Song of the Axe Dynasty. However, because of the yacht explosion, she was no longer around. And the young madam's soul came to Miss Huang. Between them, there was a show of reincarnation, and it hurt his young master's heart. During this period of time, Audiobook had witnessed how much his young master loved that beautiful and elegant young madam. But, she didn't seem to belong to this world. And the person his young master wanted to live with for the rest of his life was Miss Huang. "I can't accept her for a while," Gu Yanhao said solemnly. Audiobook asked, "Can't accept her appearance or her body?" In fact, the heart and mind were the same. When Gu Yanhao heard this, he raised his eyebrows thoughtfully. "Young master, why don't you spend some time with Miss Huang?" Gu Yanhao was still deep in thought. "It's the weekend. Why don't we go back and have a meal with her?" Gu Yanhao paused for a moment before looking up at Audiobook. "Let Sister Song prepare dinner." Gu Yanhao returned to the manor. Su Jing told him that Miss Huang was upstairs. Gu Yanhao came to the door of her room. The door wasn't closed, it was half open. Gu Yanhao stood there with mixed feelings. He still couldn't accept Huang Ling, even though he knew that Huang Ling was completely the old Song Wuyo. "They will only say that I am arrogant and have no taste. Even you are giving me the cold shoulder." Huang Ling's voice came from inside. When Gu Yanhao heard this, his heart clenched. "Your attitude towards me is not so bad now, but I can still see the displeasure in your eyes. Gu Yanhao, do you know how much I love you? When I first saw you when I was 13, I fell in love with you. Although I don't know what happened in the past 7 months, when I found out that my father and his family were not around, I couldn't feel happy. Now that I have become like this, you should dislike me even more. Sometimes, I see sadness in your eyes, as if you are missing someone. Is it my elder sister? When will you understand me? My character is really not like this. I became like this because I wanted you to notice me. The person inside laughed bitterly and continued, forget it. Whether I am arrogant or not, you won't like me. In the past, I still had hope. No matter what, that body used to belong to you. Now, sigh. A long sigh sounded. Chapter 582. Upon hearing her words, Gu Yanhao suddenly recalled Song Wuyo's words. She said that he was the reason why she was so arrogant and had such a bad personality in the past. If he had been a little warmer and nicer to her, she wouldn't have been like this. That was why it was said that after a woman got married, she became less sophisticated, pretty, and feminine. Everything depended on whether her husband doted on her or not, whether he loved her or not. Gu Yanhao pursed his cold lips and knocked lightly on the door. Knock, knock, the door isn't locked. The voice from inside sounded impatient. It was completely different from when she was talking to herself just now. Gu Yanhao suddenly smiled. This was the first time he smiled since Song Wuyo's disappearance. He pushed the door open and entered. Huang Ling was sitting in front of the dressing table with her back to the door, looking at herself in the mirror. When she saw him in the mirror, Huang Ling was shocked and quickly turned around. Her astonished eyes were filled with surprise. Howsy, you're back. Perhaps because she was too excited and surprised that he was back so early, Huang Ling was so happy that she called Gu Yanhao by his childhood nickname. When he was young, his grandpa, parents, and the rest liked to call him Howsy. After Song Wuyo got to know him, she also liked to chase after him and call him Howsy. When they grew up, he didn't allow her to call him that anymore. Once, because she called him that, his sharp gaze scared her so much that her face instantly turned pale. Since then, she never called him that again. Howsy, Howsy, it sounded like she was calling him Howsy, making him sound like a little mouse. Now that he heard Huang Ling call him Howsy, he actually wasn't angry. He looked at her deeply, his voice not cold but still innately indifferent. Let's eat together next time. Huang Ling was so happy that even her face was flushed. She nodded. Okay. She got up and looked at Gu Yanhao boldly. Why are you back so early today? In the past, he always came back very late, and for the first time, he came back to eat with her. It's the weekend. I'm not busy tomorrow or the day after. I'm going to rest at home. He wanted to get along well with her and see if they could get along well. When Huang Ling heard this, the corners of her mouth involuntarily rose, and a very proud smile appeared on her face. She naturally hooked her arm around Gu Yanhao's and smiled. Let's go down and eat. Gu Yanhao tilted his head and looked at the hands that were hooked around his arm. His gaze was complicated. She was the only one who would do such a thing. Song. Imperial consort Song would never do such a thing. When he thought of her, there was another pain in his heart. When Huang Ling heard that, her smile froze. She looked at Gu Yanhao. When it's just you and me, I still want to hear you call me Wuyo. From now on, I'll call you Huang Ling. In his heart, she was Song Wuyo. Huang Ling pursed her lips. You can call me whatever you like, as long as you don't neglect me. Huang Ling's eyes were filled with pleading when she said the last sentence. She was really afraid that he would neglect her. Don't do such intimate actions in front of outsiders, Gu Yanhao said. When Huang Ling heard this, it was as if there was a thorn in her heart. She felt very uncomfortable. Gu Yanhao saw the pain in her eyes and explained, everyone knows that my wife's appearance is not like this." When Huang Ling heard this, she was very disappointed. "I don't want it to be like this either. Aude has already contacted an authoritative plastic surgery expert. I'll arrange for you to change your appearance back to how it was before." When Huang Ling heard this, her eyes flashed and she looked at Gu Yanhao in surprise. "Really?" Chapter 583. Gu Yanhao nodded his head. "Yes." Huang Ling immediately let go of Gu Yanhao. She was very happy that he wasn't angry when she hooked her arm around his arm. "I won't hug you anymore. I don't want to add trouble to you. When I return to my previous appearance, I'll be with you openly." Huang Ling looked at Gu Yanhao and smiled. Although Huang Ling's appearance wasn't very stunning, she still looked quite good when she smiled. Gu Yanhao looked at her deeply for a few seconds and said in a low voice, "Let's go down and eat." Song Wuyo called Gu Yanhao's private phone, but he didn't pick up. She didn't call him anymore. The other party didn't pick up. He probably thought that she had been killed and hid his phone, right? Song Wuyo decided to give Gu Yanhao a surprise. After the doctor gave her a checkup and confirmed that her fetus was stable, Maupassant sent her back to M City. She sat on Maupassant's helicopter. She boarded the plane at around 9 in the morning. At around 12:30 in the afternoon, the helicopter appeared above the manor. The manor expanded. The helicopter hovered in the air. After finding the back of the manor, it slowly landed. The helicopter was too high profile. The loud noise attracted the servants and bodyguards of the manor very quickly. The unknown helicopter made the bodyguards aim their guns at it. Gu Yanhao and Huang Ling, who had just had lunch, rushed over. As the helicopter landed, it brought a gust of wind. The servants couldn't stand the strong wind and ran away. When Huang Ling took a step back, her heel twisted and she staggered. Just as she was about to fall, Gu Yanhao, who was standing beside her, suddenly reached out and hugged her waist. The wind blew into his eyes. He squinted his eyes, which were long and narrow. He looked at her. "Are you okay?" Huang Ling's short hair was blown into a mess. The wind also hurt her eyes, but she tried her best to endure it and shook her head. "I'm fine." After saying that, he looked at the helicopter in front. "Who's coming?" Gu Yanhao saw that she wanted to look again and her eyes were uncomfortable, so he turned around and put one hand on her shoulder and the other on her forehead to block the wind and the dazzling sunlight for her. Huang Ling was stunned when she saw him do that to her. She tilted her head slightly and looked at him. His side profile was devastatingly beautiful, to the point that it could cause the downfall of a city. Huang Ling curled her lips. He was actually very concerned about her. Her body involuntarily moved closer to him, snuggling up to him. Her other hand gently wrapped around his waist. She wanted to see if he had pushed her away, but he hadn't. Guo Wei and Gu Yanhao's sharp eyes looked at the helicopter that had successfully landed. At this moment, his thoughts were not on Huang Ling. Who was that? Landing a helicopter at his estate in such a high-profile manner. He did not expand this place to allow them to park their planes. The helicopter came to a complete stop, and bodyguards with guns stepped forward. They surrounded the helicopter. The door of the helicopter opened, and a tall figure appeared. Seeing the man who came out, Gu Yanhao frowned and a look of surprise flashed past his eyes. It was him. What was he doing here? After Maupassant came out, a beautiful figure appeared behind him. She was wearing a long-sleeved sweater, a denim jacket, and a fashionable straight-cut denim skirt. She wore a pair of huge sunglasses that covered half of her palm-sized face. She held on to the handrail and followed behind Maupassant. Step by step, she carefully went down the stairs. The noon sun shone on the top of their heads. After they came down, they walked over with their backs against the light. Gu Yanhao's deep and sharp gaze landed on Maupassant and the woman behind him. Chapter 584. Maupassant was wearing a dark gray sweater with a high collar, a white vest with diamonds, a pair of black casual pants, and a pair of black men's leather boots. Dressed like this, he was tall and handsome. His deep facial features, under the sunlight, looked like a handsome man who had walked out of a painting. When the maid of the manor saw such a handsome foreign man, she couldn't help but be stunned and stare straight. No matter how handsome Maupassant was, to Gu Yanhao, he was like air. It was as if he couldn't see Maupassant. Through him, he looked at the woman walking over behind him. He couldn't be more familiar with her hair tied up in a bun. Young master, isn't that? Ade, who was behind him, was also stunned. Gu Yanhao forgot to react. He even forgot to retract his hand that was shielding Huang Ling from the sun. He stiffly blocked Huang Ling's forehead. He also didn't know that Huang Ling was hugging his waist. At this moment, Gu Yanhao's brain seemed to be ringing. Other than shock, there was still shock. TSK. Maupassant looked at Gu Yanhao's bodyguard pointing a gun at him and spread his hands with a funny expression. However, when the bodyguards saw the woman behind him clearly, they all retracted their guns and looked at Gu Yanhao. Song Wuyo had returned. It had been 13 days since the day of her accident. She was very excited to be back here. However, the doctor had warned her not to walk quickly, and even more so not to run. It would affect the fetus. It was just stable, but it didn't mean that she could be presumptuous. She could only steady her steps and elegantly walk over. However, when she saw the woman in Gu Yanhao's arms, her footsteps stopped. What's going on? Maupassant was already in front of Gu Yanhao. He glanced at Huang Ling with interest, then turned to look at Song Wuyo standing behind. Song Wuyo and Gu Yanhao were only 10 meters apart. He could clearly feel her aura, and the bottom of his eyes surged with emotions. Song Wuyo felt a slight pain in his heart. What was going on with Gu Yanhao protecting a woman like this in front of her? She had only left for 10 days. Even if he thought she was dead, he shouldn't have married her so quickly, right? Shouldn't he have been in grief during this time? How? Song Wuyo raised her hand and took off her sunglasses. Her eyes had been soaked in the sea for too long and slept too much, so she had eye inflammation. Maupassant asked her to put on sunglasses before leaving the plane so that the sun wouldn't pierce her eyes. Otherwise, it would be even more dry and painful. After she took off her sunglasses, her beautiful face was perfectly displayed for everyone to see. Seeing this face, Gu Yanhao's heart shook violently. As for Huang Ling, her eyes were wide open as she looked at Song Wuyo in shock. What was going on? That woman. What was going on? Miss Su Jing had originally come to watch the show. When she saw Song Wuyo taking off her sunglasses, she was so excited that she forgot about herself. She ran over and hugged Song Wuyo fiercely. Then she burst into tears. Is that you? Miss, is that you? Su Jing's cries woke up Gu Yanhao from his shock. Gu Yanhao's whole body quivered as he came back to his senses. Wuyo. His voice was a little stiff. She. Huang Ling's voice traveled into his ears. He tilted his head and realized that one of his hands was on Huang Ling's shoulder. The other hand was shielding her from the sun. Huang Ling's arm was wrapped around his waist. They were leaning against each other. Gu Yanhao looked at Huang Ling and then at Song Wuyo. Chapter 585. Gu Yanhao looked at Huang Ling and then at Song Wuyo. Both of them looked extremely shocked. Gu Yanhao retracted his hand. For the first time, that exquisite handsome face of his revealed a troubled expression. He abandoned Huang Ling and strode over to Song Wuyo. He even grabbed her hand emotionally with an unconcealable emotion in his eyes. Wuyo. Song Wuyo raised her head. The sunlight pierced her eyes as she narrowed them and looked at him with a bitter expression. So, to you, it doesn't matter whether I'm back or not. Hearing the voice that he had been longing to hear, Gu Yanhao was extremely emotional. That heart of his that was hidden in his chest was thumping furiously. Thump, 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 however, her words were like a knife that pierced his heart, causing it to hurt even more. No, Wuyu, listen to my explanation. No one knew how emotional he was right now, nor could they describe his feelings. Su Jing, who was pulled aside by Gu Yanhao, looked at Song Wuyo with a pained expression. Missy, who are you? Huang Ling suddenly rushed forward and looked at Song Wuyo in shock. Her voice was trembling. Why? Why do you look like so similar to how she looked in the past? Why did Gu Yanhao call her Song Wuyo? Just who was this woman? Because Song Wuyo saw that Huang Ling was still with her husband, she did not give Huang Ling any face. She looked at Huang Ling calmly. When she saw the shock and pain in her eyes, she could not help but frown and look at Huang Ling from head to toe. Huang Ling seemed to be crying as she asked Song Wuyo once more, "Who are you? Please tell me, who are you?" Song Wuyo was surprised. Was there anyone in M City who did not know who she was? Even if she didn't know who she was, this woman didn't have to have such a reaction when she saw her, right? Suddenly, Huang Ling trembled and grabbed Gu Yanhao's arm. She cried and asked, "Gu Yanhao, who is she? Why? Huang Ling pointed at Song Wuyo and cried bitterly. Does she look like me? When Song Wuyo heard this, her heart skipped a beat. She seemed to know something, and a hint of surprise flashed through her eyes. Seeing the shock and pain in Huang Ling's eyes, Gu Yanhao's heart was extremely upset. At first, Maupassant looked at their rich expressions with interest. But as he watched, his smile faded. This didn't seem to be a joking atmosphere. It seemed to be very serious. Wuyo, let's talk when we get back. Gu Yanhao reached out and wanted to hold Song Wuyo's hand. Song Wuyo's gaze fell on Huang Ling's face. She took half a step back and avoided Gu Yanhao's hand. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows. A complicated look flashed through his deep eyes. Song Wuyo avoided his hand not because she was angry that he was snuggling with Huang Ling just now, but because she was shocked by her own thoughts. If she was really looking at her painful eyes, Song Wuyo couldn't bear to hurt her in front of her. She finally retracted the video on Huang Ling's face and looked at Gu Yanhao indifferently. Let's go. Gu Yanhao left with her. Huang Ling stood there stiffly with tears falling down her cheeks. Su Jing looked at her with a complicated look. Then, she walked quickly behind Song Wuyo. Huang Ling sobbed softly. She couldn't help but feel terrified. Maupassant saw her lonely and frail figure. He came up and said in a relaxed tone, "They've all left. Do you feel good standing under the sun and crying?" Huang Ling suddenly raised her head and shouted at him fiercely, "What does it have to do with you, you damned man? Mind your own business." Although her body wasn't, her mind was. Huang Ling's character still revealed her arrogant and boorish side. Maupassant curled his lips and smiled. "You're such an interesting woman." Huang Ling glared at him fiercely. Then, she turned around and walked away in big strides. When she thought of Gu Yanhao, her heart felt as though it was being pierced by a drill. In the living room, the atmosphere was strange and solemn. Gu Yanhao, Song Wuyo, Huang Ling, and Ade were all sitting on the sofa. The door of the living room was closed. Gu Yanhao rejected Maupassant unceremoniously. Chapter 586. After the outsiders were gone, Gu Yanhao told them everything about Huang Ling and imperial concubine Song. Song Wuyo and Huang Ling looked at each other quietly and listened. Song Wuyo's heart suddenly turned gloomy. She had come back in the end. Although her appearance had changed, she was still her. What Gu Yanhao liked at the beginning was not her appearance. No one knew better than Song Wuyo what kind of makeup the original owner used to wear. Under such ugly circumstances, Gu Yanhao still married her. It seemed that he really liked her. Now that she was back, her figure and appearance were quite beautiful. Song Wuyo thought sadly, no wonder he suddenly gave up looking for her. So, she was back, but why did she still retain the original owner's memories? Did she once appear and then keep them, or, actually, this was not important. The important thing was, how was she going to face them in the future? On the other side, Huang Ling's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. Her eyes were filled with dazzling tears. So, for the past 7 months, Gu Yanhao had been living so happily. He had fallen in love with the woman who had taken over her body. So, they had already slept together and their feelings for each other were very deep. Gu Yanhao had changed a lot because of her. No wonder when she woke up this time, she found that his attitude towards her was not so bad. He was so good to her because of this. Imperial Concubine Song. Huang Ling's heart was broken and dripping with fresh blood. Her heart was filled with despair. She knew that she had no chance. Her tears fell uncontrollably like pearls from a broken necklace, pitter-patter, pitter-patter. She looked so pitiful. After Song Wuyo saw this, her heart was filled with complex feelings and she felt very upset. No one knew better than her how deep the original owner's love for Gu Yanhao was. Now, Huang Ling was the original owner. Seeing her crying silently because of despair, her heart was incomparably heavy. She glanced at Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao's gaze fell on her deeply. Song Wuyo pursed her lips. There was a hint of tiredness between her brows. She glanced at Huang Ling apologetically. Sorry, I have to go back to my room. As she spoke, she bowed and stood up. Sister. Ban Jianning's voice suddenly rang out from behind her, trembling with joy. Song Wuyo's back stiffened as he turned around. Sister. Ban Jianning, who was wearing a beige casual outfit, stood on the spiral staircase with one hand on the handrail and the other clenched into a fist. His eyes were filled with all sorts of emotions. Jianning, Song Wuyo's eyes met Ban Jianning's, and tears began to flow from her eyes. Their eyes met. Ban Jianning's lips were tightly pursed, as if he was suppressing something. His beautiful eyes were filled with tears. This gaze was 10,000 years old. This gaze was like seeing each other's hearts. This gaze was constantly stirring up waves of madness. Song Wuyo looked at Ban Jianning's eyes at this moment, as if she understood something. She sniffed her sour nose and let out a low, gratified laugh. Ban Jianning hooked his lips. For the first time, he revealed a smile like a sunshine boy. Huang Ling looked at Gu Yanhao. Seeing his gaze fall on Song Wuyo's back, her heart ached fiercely. She got up and rushed out of the living room while crying. Su Jing, Maupassant, and the other maids outside saw her crying and running forward without a destination. They were dumbfounded. Inside the room, Song Wuyo looked at the door with a complicated expression. Sister. Ban Jianning walked down. Song Wuyo opened her arms and hugged him. Sister, I was so worried about you. Ban Jianing pursed his lips and said as if he was about to cry. It was as if the boy who smiled at her with tears in his eyes just now was not the child he was now. Chapter 587. Song Wuyo patted his back gently and said softly, I understand. Now that you're back, be good, Jianing. Ban Jianing lowered his head slightly and moved his mouth closer to Song Wuyo. He whispered, no matter which world you come from, you'll always be my sister. When Song Wuyo heard this, her beautiful eyes widened and a trace of astonishment flashed through them. Ban Jianing's excited voice rang in her ears. Sister, it's great that you're back. I missed you so much. Song Wuyo smiled gently. I missed you too. But I'm tired and want to go back and rest. Okay, I'll accompany you. Song Wuyo looked up. Just as she walked down the stairs, she thought of something. She turned around and walked towards a guest room on the first floor. Gu Yanhao stared at the figure with a complicated look in his eyes. Young master, young madam, seems to be very cold towards you. Ade looked at Gu Yanhao and said. Gu Yanhao curled his lips helplessly. She just can't accept Huang Ling at the moment. Where's Maupassant? Outside. Chase him away. The woman who saved him was actually hiding. Oh. Was that okay? Song Wuyo propped herself up with a pillow and leaned against the head of the bed. She suspected that it hadn't been 3 months. 3 months ago, she had to be extra careful and pay attention. Ban Jianing was like an obedient and silent child, accompanying her. I knew you wouldn't die. Ban Jianing pursed his lips and looked at Song Wuyo faintly. Jianing, you've lost weight. Song Wuyo looked at Ban Jianing with heartache. Ban Jianing smiled like a silly child. It's okay. I'll eat more and I won't lose weight again. Song Wuyo smiled and said, Sister is blessed by the heavens. You won't die so easily. Ban Jianing nodded in agreement. That's right. Sister is blessed by the heavens. After saying that, the siblings looked at each other and smiled. It was as if they could understand everything with just one look. The door was pushed open gently. Gu Yanhao stood at the door in a black suit. He gazed deeply at Song Wuyo, who was half lying on the bed. Ban Jianing turned around and saw that it was him. He pouted childishly and had an expression that said, I don't like my brother-in-law anymore. Song Wuyo raised her eyes and looked at him. Her gaze was extremely complicated. A trace of pain flashed through the bottom of her heart. Where's Huang Ling? Song Wuyo asked. She'll be fine, Gu Yanhao said in a deep voice. How do you know she'll be fine? Song Wuyo smiled bitterly. Her heart must be in pain, right? You, as if she knew what he was going to say, Song Wuyo interrupted him just as he was about to speak. He said, it was Maupassant who saved me. At that time, he took his brothers to the bottom of the sea. After seeing the explosion here, he rushed over to save me. We're in a city together. When Gu Yanhao heard this, he raised his eyebrows and a malicious light flashed in his eyes. A city. If she was in a city, how could he not find any clues? Why didn't she contact him? Song Wuyo said, I was in a coma and only woke up in the evening 2 days ago. It was Maupassant's troops who treated me. Maupassant deliberately did something. It's normal that you couldn't find me. I called you yesterday, but you didn't pick up. Song Wuyo smiled faintly, but her eyes were full of bitterness. I wanted to give you a surprise, but I didn't expect that my appearance would scare everyone. Especially Huang Ling, she was quite frightened. She had thought about it before. What if the original owner came back? Therefore, when she faced Huang Ling, she was not so shocked. It was just that she, who still had the original owner's memory, was heartbroken. Whether it was her or the original owner, they were deeply in love with this man. Chapter 588. It wasn't too much for a person to have the memories of two people. Now, they were separated into two bodies. Could it be? Song Wuyo's eyes dimmed. Did he have to take Huang Ling as his concubine? What about you? Were you frightened by her appearance? Gu Yanhao walked over and sat by the bed, looking into her eyes. Song Wuyo looked at him calmly. No, I was just surprised. I wasn't frightened. The doctor said that she couldn't be too emotional. If she wanted the fetus to be healthy and have a healthy child in the future, she had to maintain a calm and cheerful mood. Thinking of the child, Song Wuyo had mixed feelings. Should she tell him that she was pregnant? Wuyo, you're back. It's so good. Gu Yanhao held her hand. His deep voice was filled with endless excitement. Perhaps it was because of the cold weather, or perhaps it was because of her pregnancy, but her little hand was much colder than before. When Gu Yanhao held her hand, it was as if her entire hand was wrapped in a heating pad. It was warm. As the warmth flowed through her heart, Song Wuyo's long eyelashes fluttered slightly. She lowered her head and looked at his hand. His slender fingers were well-defined, just like his face. They were extremely beautiful. She moved a little, wanting to pull her hand back, but Gu Yanhao held it even tighter. Song Wuyo looked at him. What do you mean? Gu Yanhao looked straight into her eyes. I just want to hold your hand like this. What about Huang Ling's hand? Didn't he want to hold it? Didn't he marry her because he loved the original owner? Song Wuyo said, I transmigrated from ancient times. Gu Yanhao said, I knew it long ago. Song Wuyo said, I don't have the original owner's memories. What I have are the memories of the ancient times and the past few months with you. She was lying. It wasn't for anything, but because she wanted to see who he loved. Gu Yanhao's eyes darkened. Suddenly, he smiled and said, It's okay. It's enough that you have the memories of these few months. Hadn't she not forgotten about him? What he was most afraid of was that she would not even have the memories of the past few months and forget about him. His words and actions gave Song Wuyo an answer in her heart. Between her and Huang Ling, he had chosen her. However, she thought of the scene she saw when she got off the plane. The light in her eyes dimmed. If she didn't come back, he and Huang Ling would definitely be happy together. Now that she was back, he had abandoned Huang Ling for her. Was it because she was intelligent, or was it because of her beautiful body and beautiful face? The doctor said that my body is currently very weak and I'm still a little airsick. I want to rest. Song Wuyo said lightly. Gu Yanhao looked at Ban Jianing. Jianing, go back and play. Let your sister have a good rest. Ban Jianing pursed his lips and looked at Gu Yanhao angrily. Then, he got up and went out. After Ban Jianing went out, Song Wuyo did not lie down immediately. Gu Yanhao asked, Why aren't you sleeping yet? Song Wuyo looked at him. You go out too. Gu Yanhao's eyes darkened. I want to accompany you. Song Wuyo's tone was indifferent. No need. I won't be able to sleep if you're here. Gu Yanhao raised his eyebrows and looked at her thoughtfully. Song Wuyo lowered her eyes. Her long eyelashes covered her expression. But Gu Yanhao could feel that she was cold to him. Gu Yanhao looked at her deeply and said, Have a good rest then. I'll get Sister Song to make some soup for you. You can drink it when you wake up. If you're not feeling well, you must tell me, okay? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.